What up, y'all? Happy Friday. Back with another new podcast episode. This one is called The Precisely Perfect Present. And I'm just going to run through a few of the other titles that I had in mind for this episode, just to give you a feel as to kind of what the vibe is of this. See if you think it might connect with you. But some other runner-ups were The Moment is Perfect Now, One of One Moments, Abundance, Grateful for the Now, Embrace the Precise Present, The Exact Now, Infinite Possibility, Creative Capacity, and Don't Resist the Day. So those are just some threads and kind of themes that I think fit with this episode. This is another commute talk. It was actually recorded last Friday, the 30th. And so, quality isn't always there on those, I know, because I'm using the voice recorder. Hopefully it still comes through and sounds okay. But really this one is sort of like a talk for myself, really. I didn't really go into this one with the intention of it being a podcast. But I listened back to it and I kind of had a moment and kind of, just figured I'd share it for any potential value that it might have for you guys. So yeah, the full episode is out now if you want to check that out. Link in my bio. And again, really appreciate the support. I posted the other day that I've hit 250 podcast downloads on the Kevin Lunsford podcast. So, really appreciate the you guys tuning in, and let's keep this thing rolling, So still young in this endeavor, but let's see where it goes. Hope you guys have a good Friday and take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace. Feeling like my thoughts are disorganized. I'm realizing that not only is that potentially one of the issues with like my GTD system, but that may be partially an issue with how I'm living my life to a lot of ways. I need to keep listening to Michael Singer. My life. It's like I'm trying to organize my life. All the time. Instead of just waiting until it's time to organize my life. Look, just live my life. Capture, express, create. Relax about it's disorganized. Your life's disorganized. Accept that. Accept it. Look at it as the things that you're disorganized about are typically places of abundance, opportunity. And I'm over here sort of, I don't know, I am like converting this creative abundance irrationally to like a burden or like some sort of to-do, It's just like, look, you're an infinitely creative being, and watch out, because look how creative things are going to be now. When you realize, when you're like, when I'm removing these blockages and I'm just infinitely creative, and I have just got to accept downright that I'm not going to execute even 5% of my ideas. There's just even 1% maybe. I'm probably not going to execute even 1% of my ideas. What if I just live with that? Acceptance. Surrender. Let go. These leads. I'm not going to sell 1% of the leads. I might sell 1% of the leads in my system, but the someday maybe leads, they're there, but they're not to-dos. I don't need to let that weigh me down. I can start today fresh. Not worry about the past, not worry about the future, not letting the blocks and the standards and everything that keeps me from being able to live, the weight of yesterday, the weight or fear or anxiety of tomorrow. That's keeping me from putting my all into today. You know how much capacity I have? You know how much capacity anyone has. And on top of that, I've been blessed, I believe, with some innate ability. And in a way, that right there is one of the things as I continue to unpack myself and just have this moment, which, by the way, I understand is a moment. There will be moments later today, I'm sure, or just, whenever that I'll slip back into old habits. I'll be down about something, but just let it go. Don't stuff it down there. Look, all this stuff's is just coming out freely because I've decided that I'm going to open up and allow myself to cleanse and purify, and allow God to handle the rest. God's got me. Anything that He sets up for me, good or bad, is there for a reason. It's there for a purpose. Things are perfect the way they are this moment. Things are perfect. I wouldn't find, it's just kind of like Rogers was saying in that podcast, where of course he wouldn't have wanted to get injured that first game against the Jets, that first drive. Of course he wouldn't have wanted that to happen. He was pumped. To get going and fell in love with the game of football again, and of course he didn't want that to happen. But in that moment when he was talking on the I Can Fly podcast, he was talking about how, had those things not happened, the amazing other things in his life and in his own growth would not have happened. There were relationships that were formed that he wouldn't trade, that would not have happened, would not have formed, would not have been begun, wouldn't have been introduced. And for me, I just got to think, like, I beat myself up over wasted time. Wasted time. That's a whole topic I could unpack. Wasted time with not music, podcast, my creative ambitions, my career. Wasted time. Well, had I moved forward and kept running at the speed I was with my music, or with a podcast, or whatever, yes, I'm sure I'd be in some cool places. But what lessons might I have missed? What key, core, personal development might I have overlooked or jumped into prematurely before I was ready, like I am right now, for what I'm going through right now, for me to completely love who I am right now and be proud of myself right now. Like, I don't even know. I'm just talking. It's sort of just happening. It's like, through the subconscious and whatnot. Like, there is no telling what I will say next. There's no telling what the rest of this recording will be on the way into work. And it's like, I love that. I can love that. Who knows? I might even normally be like, all right, I've got exactly 6 minutes left. What's a good 6-minute topic? How can we round this out for a nice round? So who cares? Who cares? At any moment in life, you're faced with decisions of which way to turn. If I'm overthinking, I'm exhausting myself if I'm just sitting there trying to think how to put together the perfect recording. Just let it flow. Toggle off the organization mode. That right there, creative thought. I'm just sipping some green tea. Just run with it today. Don't resist the day. Be available. Work hard, but still love yourself. Focus, but enjoy it. I'll get more work than I ever did done. I was cruising yesterday. I might need these massages more often. I don't need a massage to feel this way. Sure, it didn't hurt. Just look at all those voices. Sitting back, observing me and loving myself. Just observing and loving myself. No, I won't have this recording to edit today. It's on my voice recorder. Sweet. Now I have this special little thing that I can guard that's only on this device. It's kind of cool. The sun's out today. Sweet. It's a good day already because of that. And just removing the desperation of like achievement and whatever, just like letting go. And just flowing, man. Just flowing. Accepting and embracing. And instead of resisting the fact that I'm all over the place and place to place with my creative endeavors, or, you know, it's like I'm ADD or about my projects, where I'll just go from one thing to the next and never stick with anything for too long. It's like, look, this is just a phase of the self-growth right now. Like, I am growing, and I'm really growing. I'm really shedding some layers. And more so, just embrace the fact, like, love that aspect of myself, that I'm so curious and inspired, you know, and like, look where I'm at in my journey. Look how far I've come. Look how proud I can be of myself right now, you know, and I'm just fine. Instead of being like, man, just sit down, focus, one thing at a time. Oh, there you go again. You abandon this project. Embrace the fact that, like, look, I am spending this time right now figuring it out, you know, and being curious and open and just loving what the world is. And that as a result of this is part of the process. As a result of this process, naturally, there's some things I'm really going to click with. I might really be like, man, I really love this video editing stuff. I mean, just think about the videos I did with, the videos I have with Grimm and Minor. And just like how we used to have the video recorder and record this and record that. Think up little like scenes. We thought up little like scenes and skits and hilarious like little pranks. And it's just like this compilation of us just purely like being creative. You know how cool that is? And instead of like resisting the stuff where I'm like awkward and goofy, it's just like, look, man, I can love that person that I was too. I was exactly who I was supposed to be then. God has a plan for me, you know? Going into work today, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. This is exactly the time I was supposed to arrive. This is exactly the conversation I'm supposed to be having with myself. Exactly the recording I'm supposed to be doing. Exactly the headspace I'm supposed to be in right now. And instead of also being like, well, look, if you do, too much, you got to watch your dopamine balance, because if you let your dopamine get too high, you're going to have a big crash later. Fine. I'm living for right now. I'll find something to love in that moment. I've been sleeping on myself. I've been underestimating the power of hearing myself back from time to time. It doesn't have to be all the time. But that also keeps me in more of a creative space too. If I'm listening to myself, it's like I'm almost editing, and I'm hearing it removed from myself. And almost, if I'm listening to myself, I'm the observer. Suddenly that gives me a moment to practice being the observer in a sort of a different way. It can be hard to be the observer in real time, especially when I am, the thinker and like the talker right now. Now, at the same time, I am, as I try right now to sit back and observe this happening, it's happening a little bit. I've got my own little visual, you know what I'm saying? And I'm sitting back. It's almost like I'm sitting back at this little desk or something, or I don't know what it is, just sitting back in this spot, and I'm looking ahead at like what is just sort of this thing, which is like my consciousness or my being, and I'm just kind of watching it. And the color is really bright around right now because of how I'm feeling right now. I'm feeling good. And sometimes it's like a storm might come through and maybe the light gets kind of dark. It's just like maybe the whole, it's like the mode is a little bit dark. But I just, I have the white filter on the scene right now. And there's just sort of this like glowing ball in the middle that's sort of changing, or I should say, responding actively like a sound wave. Like if you're watching sound waves on a screen, from like a recording or something, and you see, it getting larger during the talking moments, and these little gaps, there's nothing, and then it comes back up, and this vision will continue to develop and change, and just be grateful for this talk that I just had. This is one of the best talks I've had in a while. This is one of the best talk, and who knows, I could say this is the best talk I've ever had in my life, because I'm only going to grow more and more, enlightened, free, content, satisfied, whole, happy, grateful, blessed. The exact sequence of what happened this morning was supposed to happen so that I could have this talk in this way, and it's a result of a bunch of other decisions and phases of my growth and habits, and all these different things led me to be able to have this moment here. So always trusting that even when the moment is kind of dull or feels like it sucks, or you feel like you're going through the motions, you might actually be prepping or sort of laying down the foundations of the highlights, which for me, like a talk like this is a highlight. It's definitely, it might be the best moment of my day. It might not be. It might just be setting the tone for an endless spree of good moments. I might have 5 sales today, just because, who knows? I open myself up to that possibility. I let go of the fear of making the call. I am 20% looser on the call, and so that tips me over the edge to just ask for the sale. Or it opens up 20% more space for that key selling point to pop up, to pop up at the right moment, to be able to give to them, and then that puts them over the edge to the sale. Last week, Friday, he was about to hang up and think about it and say, I'll get back to you. I was like, oh, Melvin, but we got it right here. And I went into a couple more things that were just what he needed. And he said, all right, let's do it. I don't know if I ever reflected on that enough to be grateful for that moment. And then the things that happened later that day. It was a roller coaster. Thought the sale wasn't going to work out, and then boom, a couple amazing things happened. He was cool, and it worked out. But anyway, my intuition now is to get into work, so I'm just going to follow that. Not resist, but more like just go with the flow. It's time to go in. The talk could go longer, but it's fine. It's endless for me, so I can check in again sometime when I want to. And I don't need to wrap a nice, neat bow on it. It's just like, all right, I had the moment, and now it's done. And you move on. And not become so attached. Not sit here and keep talking because I don't want this moment to end, because I'm in a state of bliss and joy. No. Just move on. Move on to what's next. Enjoy each moment. And live every day like it's your last. So. All right. Make it great.